Yeah, that's not an easy question. I think I would just say I try to make people's lives better, to allow them to be happier. Yeah, I have 2 book projects going right now. One is on the consequences of income inequality, a little bit of wealth inequality, but mostly income inequality. And then what, if anything, policymakers in an affluent democratic nation like Austria or my country, the United States, should do about this, and how high it should be on the priority list, because of course there are lots of things that policymakers might want to do. And then the other project is on cities and their role in a good society, and what we can do to, again, in terms of policymakers, what we can do to make them better, more effective, better places to live. Yeah, for me, there are various aspects to it. The most important, I think, is that potentially I can offer advice that might help create policies or institutions, or improve policies and institutions that make people's lives better. This is the kind of research I focus on. Many researchers are doing some aspect of this, but to me that's helpful. I think it's valuable. It's not the only thing one can do as an academic researcher, but it's very nice when there are at least these potential implications for improving people's lives. But then I'm also interested in the very fine details. I love trying to solve puzzles. I like doing quantitative analysis and reasoning through problems to try to get to answers. So the process is enjoyable to me as well. And I feel very fortunate to live in an age where there's so much data, so much evidence and information available. Not all that we would possibly want or desire, but so much more than when I was a PhD student back in the 1980s. So I think I'm not alone in drawing this conclusion, but a lot of what I've worked on for the last 30 or so years is the question of the degree to which there are trade-offs between trying to protect economic security or reduce poverty or make people's lives better, especially the least fortunate, the least advantaged, and broader measures of economic success, whether there are trade-offs between these two things. In other words, if a country or a government creates policies that help the incomes or provide services for the least advantaged, will it suffer from less innovation or slower economic growth? And my conclusion, and we now have quite a good bit of evidence on this, again in the context of a rich democratic society, is that probably countries can go up in terms of government taxing and spending to somewhere around 50% of GDP, gross domestic product, without suffering a loss of innovation or economic growth. Maybe beyond, but we have far less evidence on this. And so that's quite encouraging. When I was younger, so 2-3 decades ago, this question, there was a lot of uncertainty about this question, and so many of the debates were theoretical in nature because we didn't have that much evidence. And so, there are plausible reasons to theorize that if you're going to try to create more equality or less poverty, you're going to lose some economic growth. But we now know, I think, with much more confidence than earlier, that probably you do just fine, again, up to about half of the country's economy going through government and taxing and spending. It's been great, really, honestly. It's my first time to Vienna, as I said, so I've enjoyed that, even though the weather is very different from where I live in San Diego in Southern California. It's a really, really nice, well-functioning, as best I can tell, city. So that's been great. The class I've been teaching has been good. The students have been seemingly interested. They're talkative enough. It's a very short class, just 2 weeks. And then I also gave a public lecture and had a separate workshop on some work that I'm doing, and those were both very interesting to me as well. I got some very good feedback on things I'm thinking about and working on. So yeah, all in all, really delightful.